Are you ready for debate night at Politicon 2017? All right, well, let's start with one of the topics in the news today, and that's healthcare.
The truth about healthcare is this. There are three qualities of healthcare that you can have. You can have affordability, you can have universality, or you can have quality. And you can have two of those three things, but not all three.
Cenk, your take on the healthcare vote?
Yeah. Well, we just had 8 years of Obama. So, Ben, I don't want to steal health insurance from you. I want you to be healthy. That's why I want taxes from the 1950s. Corporations used to pay about a third of our taxes, about 33% of the taxes overall. So they did their fair share, and that is fair. I don't want them paying all of it, but I want them paying 90% Medicare for all. Every other Western developed country does some version of single payer. It obviously can be done, and it is done at lower rates and better coverage.
You're a corporation. TYT's it's a corporation. You have 80 employees. I assume that you're not just a greedy asshole, and that you actually would like to help your employees from time to time.
And let me just ask, since we're talking about taxes, do you think we'll see tax reform in the next few months here?
Okay. So let me try to address all that in your question as well. So just real quick, look guys, I said it however many questions ago. Corporations are not evil. They just want to maximize profit. That is what they're built for. And I run a small business myself, getting larger every day.
That said, I'd like to know which tax deductions you'd like to do away with.
Mm-hmm. So yes, there are plenty of those, it's like the double Dutch and the Irish sandwich or the reverse. And I would end that. I would say, hey, you know what? If we've got a 35% rate, here's the new rule. You're going to pay 35%. Mitt Romney is... Guys, try to follow along, okay? It's called logic. So it would be preposterous to set the tax rate at 0. It would be preposterous to set it at 100%. So what we have to do as a society is figure out where we can maximize the most amount of good for the country.
Should it be closer to 0 or closer
for the
to
government,
100?
but not too much away from us. So, for example, the reason why when taxes are higher, it winds up being better for the economy is because it recirculates the money. So if you give it to the rich, this is hilarious. If you're uneducated, please at least don't make it obvious.
This is the most interesting conversation on taxes I've heard.
If you don't know the concept of recirculation of money, then go look it up. And so the way that it works is that when the middle class has more money, disposable income, they spend it. Why? Because they're not living in the lap of luxury. They're not saving it for their yacht. So they need to buy food for their family, they need education for their family, so they spend it and it goes back into the economy. If you just give it in supply side economics to the rich and hope that it trickles down on us eventually decades later, what they wind up doing with it is something that is logical. They save it. But that means it does not recirculate in the economy. And that is why when you have lower taxes, ironically, the economy does worse. So in order for my employees to get to my company, you know what they have to do? They have to drive on roads. Okay, so it's not stealing from me to build that road. That helps my business. They had to go to school. The fact that they went to public schools allows them to work for me. All these things are things that I benefit from. I didn't build that company by myself. Every single person that works there helped me to build that company.
I do want to go back to a couple of points because you actually hit on some major thematic points. You talked about roads and the fact that we need roads in order to get to work. This is a point Elizabeth Warren made and obviously a point that President Obama made at the time. I don't think anyone argues that we don't need roads to get to work. The problem is that when you're talking about roads as a percentage of the budget, we are talking about a tiny, tiny, tiny percentage of the federal budget and of the state budget and even of the local budget. So the idea that you're justifying massive tax rates on corporations in order to pay for roads is just intellectually dishonest.
You've talked a lot about the corruption in politics, and a core part of the Trump campaign was railing against the establishment, which he thought was corrupted, and a lot of the big donors were initially against him. So which way is the Republican Party going to go on this? Is it Trumpism and the grassroots movement or the establishment?
Well, I mean, when it comes to money in politics, I think that breakdown doesn't really hold. I mean, okay, TYT, we both have corporations, and we expound upon politics every single day. And we motivate thousands of people, right, every day on both sides of the aisle. That is effectively an in-kind contribution. Now, you campaigned with Bernie Sanders. Did you do it because you expected? That's fine. Did you do that because you supported Bernie Sanders, or did you do that because you expected some gimme for TYT in return?
I like Bernie Sanders and you saying whoever you like, because in return for that $5.8 billion, Bernie Sanders got $4.4 trillion in government subsidies. That because there's legalized bribery in America. The Supreme Court says, no, money is speech now. No, money is property. It's not speech. And so if money was speech, well, then if you go to a hooker and you say, oh, no, officer, I was just talking to her. Okay, money is not speech. I like hookers. Okay, look it up. You can Google it. It's really easy. I could go on and on and on. I'd like to be inside your uterus.
And again, I ask you, Buddy Roemer gave you $4 million to start TYT. What did he expect in return? Should he not have given you money? Was the money not speech? It was just money, after all. It's just like a hooker, I assume. So are you the prostitute? How did this work?
No, those are two different issues. No problem, no problem. You can't just spend your money anywhere you want. Of course there are rules. The Young Turks cannot donate money to politicians. I'd say, of course, that's the whole point of getting money out of politics.
Cenk, okay, final question.
This is going to be the last word on this.
Final thing here
last
on this,
word.
okay? Final question on this. So, Young Turks is super successful. You have 80 million uniques. It's wonderful. Do you think
Thank
Bernie
you.
Sanders would care more if you gave him $10,000 or if you dedicated your entire network to kissing his ass for an election cycle?
All right, so I think you'll agree with me that the mainstream media kissing Hillary Clinton's ass for 2 straight years was a much bigger problem.
All right, so let's do rapid fire now as we come to the close here. I think, by the way, there's wide agreement about the corruption in politics, maybe different ways of how to deal with it, but this has been a very good conversation. So I'll go first to Ben. As we look at 2020, what will be a winning message and who will be a winning candidate on the Republican side in 2020?
So, I think that the greatest ally that the Republicans have is the incompetence and stupidity of the Democratic Party. The 2016, in fact, I have a feeling that Cenk actually might agree with me on this, that 2016 election, Donald Trump became president of the United States, right? Hillary Clinton was the worst candidate in the history of mankind. So what I would like to see is the Democrats campaign on the bigger, on the stronger involvement of government in your life and higher taxes program that Cenk wants them to campaign on, the Bernie Sanders, Elizabeth Warren program, and I would like to see the Republicans campaign on my program, a smaller government, libertarian program that says the government should get out of our lives as much as humanly possible.
All right, and for Cenk, what will be a winning message and who will be a winning candidate for Democrats in 2020?
And for one Iraq war, for the cost of one Iraq war, we could have gotten 20 years of free Medicare for all. So it isn't about big government or small government. It's about what do we do with the money. So that $1.5 trillion could have gone to us, could have gone to the middle class, could have gone to a better economy. You come out, you start businesses, you engage in this market, and you make things better, and you employ people. And I run a small business myself. We could have used that for us. Instead, we wasted it in Iraq. And by the way, I believe, Ben, you want to get tough on Iran, you want to rip up the deal, etc. If you thought the Iraq war was a waste of blood and treasure, wait till you get a load of identity politics. So when you like identity politics when it serves your interests, you know what that's called? That's called the American dream. So, once again, it's this wonderful capitalist invention called Google. Google it. Look into it. It's called America, okay?
right, well, I think we now
Okay.
know.
USA! 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 Identity politics.
All right, I'm going to cut right in here. So, first of all, I think we figured out who this crowd wants to run for president in 2020. Ben Shapiro and Cenk Uygur. No.
USA! USA! USA!